invasion of our ecosystems by non-native species poses a threat to all native organisms that call them home. Higher reproductive rates, fewer natural predators, and general resilience of invasive species are characteristics that can lead to their dominance in non-native ranges. Even alien species that some consider to be naturalized pose threats to ecosystem wellness because they are incompatible with the environment in which they have established themselves. Invaders compete with native species for resources and can degrade the ecosystem to the point at which it is no longer a suitable habitat for the native species that once lived there. Because alien vegetation is typically durable, it often thrives in sites where native species struggle, such as disturbed environments. For this reason, non-native vegetation largely dominates roadside habitats. Common St. Johnswort is an invasive perennial that is often found in grazed or disturbed regions. Now much more abundant than its native relative, calm St. Johnswort, the invader displaces native species and reduces vegetation available for consumption by both wildlife and livestock. The Oxide Daisy is a non-native perennial flower with the ability to decrease the productivity of an ecosystem by replacing native grasses and wildflowers that typically serve as habitat for food and wildlife. A single plant produces approximately 26,000 seeds, quickly leading to infestations and threatening biodiversity. Wild parsnip has been branded as one of Ontario's most undesirable alien species. Not only does its presence threaten native plants, but the sap made by wild parsnip is toxic and can cause severe burns if contacted skin is exposed to sunlight. According to Ontario's Invasive Species Awareness Program, wild parsnip can pose agricultural threats. It has been found to impair weight gain when consumed by livestock, as well as cause a reduction of yield quality of crops such as hay and oats. Despite being called the Canada thistle, this noxious thistle is an alien species in Ontario known to compete for resources and facilitate severe losses in agricultural crops such as barley, canola, and wheat. Like other invasive plant species, it crowds and replaces native species, contributing to ecological imbalance and a decline in the abundance of native vegetation. The bull thistle is yet another noxious invasive plant. The rapid reproduction rate and the ability of this thistle to tolerate unfavorable conditions renders it a fierce and dangerous invader. This thistle is particularly aggressive in disturbed environments, accounting for its prevalence in roadside ecosystems. Invasive thistles pose serious risks to native thistles that are already in decline, such as the endangered pitcher's thistle. Queen Anne's lace, or wild carrot, is a noxious invader that has been present in Ontario for so long that it is often confused as a native species. Queen Anne's lace is found generally in disturbed grasslands and is detrimental to their recovery. Luckily, this non-native plant is less aggressive than some of the other species mentioned and is often replaced by native grasses and vegetation as they are re-established to damaged sites. The last roadside invasive species that we're going to cover is the woolly mullen. Woolly mullen plants are extremely drought tolerant and grow rapidly, meaning that they quickly establish in large colonies, typically dominating all native vegetation in the invaded site. Colonies of this alien mullen form a dense ground cover that displace and prevent the growth of native species. Although tolerant of other environmental stressors, woolly mullen requires adequate sunlight in order to grow. As you can see, mullen almost exclusively inhabits this side of the road, in nearly total absence of other vegetation. Yet, on this side of the road, mullen density is very sparse. This is likely due to greater sun exposure on the mullen-dominated side of the road. This is an example of the species' ability to completely overtake environments to which it is suited. According to the World Conservation Union, invasive species are the second greatest threat to biodiversity behind habitat loss. As the abundance of non-native species in Ontario increases, it will further loss of habitat for Ontario's wildlife, not to mention reduced productivity of forest, agriculture, and fishing industries. Invaders often become predators, parasites, and competitors in environments that have difficulty sustaining organisms that thousands of years of evolution did not prepare them for. It's important to keep perspective on the fact that humans are the ultimate invaders, having colonized and damaged ecosystems all over the world. For this reason, it is our responsibility to do what we can to prevent and control the spread of invasive species and reduce the havoc that they wreak on the environment.